Hey guys, last week I came up with a concept, a short story for Halloween called The Lighthouse Killer. I liked the idea so much that I wanted to elaborate into something a bit longer with different episodes. I also wanted to set the story in the town I was born, Boston, Massachusetts. I thought the scenery went so well with the story, and I wanted to set it in the 90s, or start it off that way. This story consists of secrets, bullying, covering things up, and of course, revenge. And what horror story wouldn't be complete without a twist? So, here it goes. The Lighthouse Killer, Episode 5, Editing the Crime Scene Again. So, in the last episode, Rebecca came up with the idea of rearranging the accidental death from the prank they did on David as a suicide, and the fact that he was constantly bullied in school for being gay. It seemed the most realistic alibi with the help of Emily, which his father is a retired cop, and her boyfriend Brian. They were able to make this possible on Pelican Bay near the lighthouse. I wanted to open up this episode with a really creepy scene with a lot of shock value and an eerie, dark environment. And so I made a nightmare for Rebecca, which is interesting because when you first reading it, you think time has passed by, and they really did convince the town that David committed suicide. And the nightmare seems more like a dream, especially since it starts off with her and Dean in the car as a couple, something that she's always wanted. He kisses her and drops her off at Pelican Bay, asking her if she's sure she wants to be alone right now. It's referenced that in the dream world, she's no longer friends with Emily or Brian. However, Dean still doesn't know the truth of what happened that day with David. Remember, Dean is very sensitive with the mocking and bullying because of his brother having AIDS. On top of it, Rebecca already feels guilty. You see that when he tells her that I'm sure David appreciated the fact you guys were trying to be friendly in the end. He gave her a kiss and dropped her off, as she whispered, if only that were true. I want to emphasize one thing before I continue explaining the story. In this, there are no main characters. Even though it may seem like that as you continue reading, each character really stands for themselves, and it's very important that you know that. So, Rebecca walks on the beach, making it to the rocks, the very same place the incident happened. She takes a seat and pulls out some homework. She all of a sudden hears behind her someone counting. She turns around and notices the lighthouse light is on. She hears laughing. She goes to the side door and goes all the way up the spiral stairway of the lighthouse, hearing somebody whisper, "Hurry up." She picks up the pace until she makes it to the top. No one's there. She was closer to the part where David had slipped. She feels breathing on her back. She turns around, shocked to see that he's still alive, with all the bruises and bleeding and broken bones and gushing blood. She screams, saying, "We killed you." Well, he says, "As long as that light is on, I will always be alive." He pushes Rebecca, and she wakes up in her bedroom the day after the last episode, sweating from that horrible nightmare. She hears her mom calling her downstairs. When she goes down the stairs, she notices her mom on the sofa with a worried look, watching the news about David, the student they bullied, the one they played a trick on, the one they covered up his death, but she mutes it as her daughter doesn't hear. She sees if Rebecca's okay first, and she tells her, "Oh, I just had a really bad nightmare, Mom." And then she decides to turn on the news, which was very shocking to Rebecca because the way they left the body was not the way the news was reporting it. Apparently now they're saying that David attempted to commit suicide and the house was burned. His parents, they were able to escape. This news shocked Rebecca so much the milk carton slipped out of her hands, making a mess all over the kitchen floor. Her mother supported her with a hug and asked if she knew him or if they were friends. She said no, but they were in the same class. Because the reporter said he was bullied, Beverly wonders if her daughter could have had any part of that, but then realized that she wouldn't do that. Rebecca asked her mom if she could borrow the car. Her mom thought it was a great idea to get out of the house. She even gave her a suggestion to hang out with Dean. Apparently, Beverly liked him, but Rebecca didn't have that in mind. She knew if she made that choice, it would only make her feel guilty about what she did, since she had so much strong feelings for Dean. Instead, she told her mom that she was going to go to the mall with Emily. She okayed it and quickly rushed out of the house, which Beverly was going to pull out the mop out of the closet to clean up the spilled milk her daughter accidentally spilled. When shocked, the house phone rang, and it was Emily asking for Rebecca. She told her she was on the way to her house, even though she didn't seem like Emily was a good person. She started fishing to get information in a subtle way, but Emily knew how to respond. After she hung up, we, the listeners or readers, are left thinking, is the mother worried or is she suspicious? Then the scene goes to Emily. Brian's over, and she's telling him that Rebecca's on her way. Apparently, they saw all over the news what's been going on. He's annoyed because now they have to deal with the drama queen, and she tells him to act right because they have to work together. When it comes to these three, it's kind of hard to pick out which one is more evil. And I think that that's why I thought it was so interesting to really focus on them in this point of view. When the three of them are drinking mojitos in the patio, they see how irrational Rebecca is becoming. But is she really? Someone else must have been there, especially since the crime scene was edited once again. Brian is telling her that that's a good thing. Maybe someone's looking out for them, but Rebecca doesn't see it that way. She feels as if someone now has the chance to blackmail them. Emily does the best she can to calm her down, but she's not 100% convinced. On top of everything else, someone is in the bushes watching them. Stay tuned for the next episode.